Business Brain, episode 612 for Wednesday, January 8th. National Snuggle a Chicken Day, nice. 2025. I don't even... Where do they come up with these? You could have a holiday about anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take some ideas, we dissect them, we inspect them, we use them to tune our business brains each and every time we get together. And here, saying Happy New Year to everybody in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
Hey, and it's New Year out here in California, too.
Turns out it
goes across the whole world. Apparently, it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's true.
If you didn't know that,
it would be amazing if you didn't know that. That would be the amazing part.
Well, maybe a little kid or something like that. Two things about New Year's that I love is
one of them that you love your landscaper who's running a machine in the background there.
Yeah, well, normally we don't record on Fridays, so
right.
I have him specifically scheduled on Friday. Not only so we can enjoy our outside garden on the weekend, which is nice. We usually entertain a weekend or whatever. But I don't have typically a recording to do.
Yes.
And but this one, we're juggling schedules and everything else.
It's all fine. I just figured I'd acknowledge it since everybody's going to hear it anyway.
Yeah. But two things that I love about New Year's. One is we're coming up on the best time of the year to sell exercise equipment. And I always talk about the deals on exercise equipment on my X feed because you can buy liquidation exercise. So after the next few months of sales, there will be an amazing 6 months of deals on returns because people take them back.
Right.
And so if you can hold on to those things until the following January, that's called arbitrage, and you can make some.
That is arbitrage.
That that's arbitrage right there.
That's arbitrage.
The other thing I like is I do like New Year's resolutions. I think they're great. I think if you use them as a system, I think it's cool. What some people do, I don't know, go to the gym, do whatever.
Sure.
One of the things that I noticed, I think I might have talked about this on the show before. It might have been 5 years, might be 10 years, I don't know. But one year I said, you know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to give out more compliments.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm going to become the compliment guy.
Yep.
And I got to say, it dramatically changed my life because
I believe that.
Yeah. And I've always kind of given out compliments, but I became more intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't just,
I set reminders to compliment people. I always, and it could be something little, like one of my favorites, and it have to be authentic, right? You can't BS somebody. I'm not just, trying to, whatever, blow smoke at
No,
you,
Shannon, you are always authentic.
Yeah. But for better or worse. But
that was meant to be an inauthentic compliment. No.
Yes. Yeah. But when I notice somebody wearing a great color that brings out their eyes or their hair, whatever it is, that's a great color on you.
Yes.
I often comment on that. I often comment about positive vibes or your energy. Like, man, your energy was so great, at this meeting. The thing is, especially with employees, you have to be careful what kind of compliments you give.
Yeah, totally.
Especially if it's,
yes, absolutely.
Things get taken wrong, out of context, whatever. So, like, I was talking to my daughter about it, and she's like, oh, yeah, I always compliment shoes.
Yes.
Because people spend a lot of time thinking about their shoes. It's very innocuous comment, but it's been like, oh, those are cool shoes. I really like that. And I thought that's pretty interesting.
I've watched, and I'm going to sort of generalize about gender here because it's where I see this happen more frequently is my female friends. It's almost an integral part, a default part of the way they greet each other. Oh. It's, hey, it's good to see you. I love that pin. And they'll say, thanks so much. I love your earrings. And it's
maybe it's
always
a dude thing. Maybe it's a guy thing that we don't do it as
that
enough.
we don't do that. Yeah. And I think
you're right.
I don't know why it's a default for certainly my group of male friends, but even just men that I see in general don't do that by default. and there's no good reason. Like it,
Yeah. No, you're right.
obviously there's no good reason.
We need to do
Just-
it more because I think,
Yes.
and I mentioned this, I think that men are criminally under-complimented, right? Because it's just not part of the thing. And I'll give you an example. I go to the dog park every day, like 4:00, and there's a bunch of people there, or, group of people. And there's an older guy. He's probably 80, maybe 81. And one day he came to the thing to the park, and I noticed he'd gotten his haircut, and it looked great. And I said, Ron, I love your new haircut. And I just said, man, it makes you look 10 years younger.
Yeah.
And he turned bright red like a teenager, and he smiled, and I was just like, oh man, I got to do this more. So,
great.
I always mention the guys' haircuts because I can tell, I
Yes,
just gotta look,
you
I'm like, "Hey,
totally can tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, you got a haircut today. It looks great. And it's just one of those simple things.
But you're right. That list of things like shoes, a haircut, some accessory, right? Because
great.
that's an obvious thing that someone spent time to think about.
Correct.
Where I find trouble, beware is
That's
it
right.
like that shirt looks great on you.
No.
That can be
Can't do it.
that can
Yeah.
go completely
Go wrong.
sideways.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're better off talking also about the way someone did something. Especially if they
like
worked for
that.
you. Like, hey, I love the way you handled that customer. I love the phrase you used when you were handling a return, or I love the way you talked to your other employee about X.
Whatever.
So so an action is another great thing to compliment on there. But I would become the compliment guy. What happens is, there's that saying, when you walk in the room, you have the ability to raise it or lower it, like raise the cheerfulness or whatever, or lower it and kind of lessen things. So if you walk in and drop a couple of compliments as you're walking around the room, it lifts everybody up. And I think it's something worth doing. I definitely have noticed a difference in my life. And give out more compliments, especially to the dudes that may not be getting any.
Yeah, or anybody that's not getting but give them to everybody. Yeah. I've noticed this and again, it's perhaps it speaks more to the circles I find myself in. But and
if you want to start, a great place to start is at businessbrain.show/reviews, because you could leave a compliment for us, because this show is not free. It takes a ton of time for Dave and I to put it together, to meet every week. We love doing it, and we're going to do it forever. But the payment we would like to extract from you would be a quick review that would take you 23 seconds. businessbrain.show/review. That start off the year with your first compliment to us.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
Cool.
Love it.
Awesome. You have an interesting topic that you wanted to talk about too.
I think it might have to do with the time of day that we record this show. Because what I put on the calendar, on our agenda here, is the topic of being comfortable with chaos. And certainly by 4 p.m. Eastern on a work-ish day for me, I've experienced some version of chaos. It's more likely to have happened by 4 p.m. than it is at, say, 10 a.m. Right?
Yeah,
and that's
sense.
fine. But it also is just my life. Is I put myself in scenarios where chaos is the norm. And this week, for example, we had the Wednesday holiday. Now, I'm flying to CES on Saturday. On Monday, I had a band rehearsal for this Led Zeppelin tribute show that I'm playing right after I get back from CES. And even halfway through that, I realized I am underprepared for this. I didn't go into the rehearsal thinking I was underprepared. I didn't realize the caliber of players that I was working with and the attention to detail that we as a collective were going to decide to give to this material. I'd never really gone nerdy about Led Zeppelin before.
Yeah.
I'm aware of Led Zeppelin. I've played Led Zeppelin songs, but I've never gotten nerdy about it. And there's one guy in this group that, lived and breathed Led Zeppelin while he was growing up. And and his enthusiasm was infectious about it, right?
Cool.
So it was great. Like
that's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
It made us all. I mean, it was a wake up call, but it was one that I was happy to give to us collectively, right? It was like,
okay, sure.
Oh, we got to do more. We had another rehearsal Thursday nights, which meant I needed to put in some time in the middle there, but I needed to get ready for CES. I had this holiday, so. On Wednesday, I spent like 4 hours in the studio completely going down the rabbit hole of these songs and like really starting to like understand them at a deeper level. But that meant that I didn't spend the 4 hours on Wednesday doing all the prep for CES that I had carved out time to do.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
You know, because I figured, well,
the pregame is for the conference very important.
It's for this one
everything.
especially. It is everything. If I don't know what I'm doing by the time I start driving to the airport,
you might as well
I should not go.
No,
I shouldn't go. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I had maybe half of my prep done. I had my appointments booked and this, that, and the other, but then I needed to kind of spend some time and do that. Sure. So obviously I had to carve out the time to make that happen. And then I had this other rehearsal, and so there's been a lot of things compressing my time. And the entire month of January is just going to be mayhem for me. I had this week, and then I'm going to be at CES the week that this episode comes out. I'm free for a week after that. Then I'm going to LA to go to NAMM which is a show for music, the music industry, for the other podcast I do for Gig Gab. And then I'll come home from LA, and Shannon, I get to be home for one full day before I leave on vacation with my wife to go to Mexico. The right logistical move would be to fly from LA to Mexico.
Yes, it would.
But I need very different luggage with me.
That's true.
And I like the idea of starting vacation together with my wife and like agree. All of that. Like it's fine. So as long as the weather looks like it's going to permit me to fly from LA to Boston and then Boston to Mexico, that's what I'll do. If it looks like things are going to be mayhem, we get Lisa on a plane to Mexico, I fly from LA and we just deal with it when we get there. It'll be fine. But that's my January. I think I'm home for 8 more days or something. Yeah. Well, but there's chaos in this. Yeah. But that's the thing is if I have to sit down and intentionally look at the calendar and say, okay, I have done this to myself. I'm choosing this.
Yes, correct.
This happens all the time. This is not a surprise. And I'll take some time and figure out, okay, here are the things I need to block out in my life so that I know that, like, for example, today, I knew before we did this, I had to post-produce 2 episodes of another podcast that I had done that I recorded before Christmas. But I was like, oh, those are coming out in January. I'll do the production on those later. It's like, well, later is right now. Yeah. Because if I don't do it before I leave, I'm not going to have the time when I get back in a way. So it was like, okay, that's fine. No problem. I carved out the time and I just plow through and I do it. And it's that comfort with knowing that I am going to survive this chaos that I have created. And again, I'm not pointing fingers anywhere other than back at me.
It's your choice.
It is my choice.
Yeah, yes.
But I know that I can not just survive it, I can thrive through it because that's the point. If I'm going to 2 conferences and then a vacation and having all these things, there's no point in doing it if the goal is to survive it.
No, I think it actually energizes you.
It does energize me.
And it energizes me as well.
Yeah.
But you have to know that it also can freak other people out.
Well, I also know that it can freak me out if I don't approach it with the right mindset.
Yeah. I've had so we just got back from Tahoe. We were up there for right after Christmas through New Year's, and same kind of thing. I stack up. It's just inevitable that I stack up all this stuff like you're talking about. I had to not only I had to get up Tahoe, but I won an auction and bought a Polaris side-by-side, little 4-wheel drive thing.
Nice.
In Reno, which is about
so
an hour. Not terribly far. But trying to manage that and get up there. I also bought a new truck on Christmas Eve. And so I deal with that. I had to try to pick up my trailer, and then there was a snowstorm. And I'm managing this. I'm juggling all kinds of coaching clients because it's a holiday. We're trying to fit things in. Then I have to drive over these mountains. I had to go do all this stuff, pick it up, drive it back to Tahoe, enjoy my time with my family. And you know, the funny thing is, the thing that stressed me out the most, that kept me up at night, was just backing the trailer up into the driveway in the ice and the snow in Tahoe. That's what I kept thinking about. Luckily, like most things we stress about, it worked fine. No big deal. It was okay. You know, new four-wheel drive.
It is funny, the things that we wind up obsessing about.
Of course. And so then, you know, got back, then spent a great few days. Then I had to drive that Polaris to our other property, the river house, to leave it there because that's where I want to use it, yada, 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 then get home. So we had this stacked up and do this. But I, not only do I like it, it energizes me, but I feel a greater sense of accomplishment after all these things.
Oh,
and maybe
for sure.
Maybe that's it. Maybe for me, I do all this stuff intentionally, so I feel like, oh, I figured it out. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, I can tell the story.
Yeah.
I know that it's very much your ethos of, you know, decide the story that you want to tell.
Yeah, tell it backwards.
And that can be a huge big picture thing that takes a decade, or it can be a thing that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this crazy week that I had where, you know, the week before Christmas, I had 2 rehearsals and then I had 2 gigs up and down and they all went great. And it was, I had to do one of them in a snowstorm, et cetera, right? Like I could tell that story.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it's like, I did it, you know, and then that Saturday after, you know, all this craziness, I got home very late Friday night. I was content on Saturday because I had done the thing.
Yeah.
I'd made it through. Same. I do it to myself. I will share though that something, gosh, I can't remember who said it to me, but once I heard somebody say that the right spouse is a force multiplier,
That's
Shannon.
me.
I know.
That's me, damn it.
I know. But that is so true in these scenarios because I can tell you, like, there's been times where I have either overscheduled myself or scheduled myself for mayhem like this at the wrong time. And the support of my wife in the times where I do it the right way or at the right time, and sometimes I don't know if it's the right time, Shannon, but versus the infrequent, but it happens occasions where it's like I don't quite have. She tolerates it, but it's not supportive. Yeah, and the latter is far less frequent than the former, right? So it's all good, but I am keenly aware that I have the right spouse for me, and that fuels me and allows me to do the crazy things that I do. And most of it is for the family. The gig stuff, that's for the family too. They sometimes don't think so. No. They wonder, you know, do you hate us and that's why you do this? But when I have gone, 6-8 months without playing, they're the ones. They're like, you need to get out. I know.
It's just like, having to drive over the mountain to pick up a Polaris while your family is vacationing in Tahoe, and you got to do this. And
you get the sideways look sometimes about that.
Like, why are you doing this? This kind of thing. So that is for sure. The right spouse is a force multiplier, and it's you got to have the right teammate to make this stuff work. And sometimes I feel sorry for my wife, no doubt about it, because, just because I'm comfortable with chaos, it doesn't mean she is. And she likes things regimented a certain way. Yep. And so I've gotten much better at managing my calendar and syncing up with her so she knows what's going on, because stuff changes all the time. Our schedule, like normally we record Tuesdays or this or that, and we're hopping around and this. And so we've trained each other to, before we start dropping texts to each other or reaching out, look at the calendar. Where's Renee at? What's her schedule today? Where's Shannon? Oh, Shannon's on the call for the next hour, so I know he won't be available or whatever. So that communication, and it blows my mind when I have a lot of friends like this that don't have a family calendar, that don't share. I don't know how it would work.
I think we have. This is actually a good topic to talk about here. I know we're going to run a little longer than we normally do here, but we have 4 family calendars.
probably about
one.
right.
Yep. We have one that we call family group,
Yeah.
which is for an activity that all of us are participating in.
Got
Now,
it.
with the nest empty these days, it's rare that events go on that one, right? For obvious reasons. But
Sure.
when the kids were in high school and college, that made a lot of sense. Yeah. And then we have a family personal calendar, which is things that the family needs to know about, but only one person is doing.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like you got to know that I'm
I'm
doing
not
a
gonna
thing
be
here.
there. Yeah.
Correct. But
Yes.
you're not coming with me. This is just for you to know. And then we have permutations of the family group calendar. We have one with my wife, my son and I, and one with my daughter, my wife and I. And that way we can kind of arrange things and it's all fine. But I can't, like you said,
Couldn't imagine. No.
Dude.
And I use Calendly, which is a service that allows other people to book your time on your calendar. So that syncs up with, I have certain calendars that it checks first. So like, okay, and I've run into trouble with that because all of a sudden something will pop up and I'll be like, what's this? And so I've learned to put some pretty good rigid rules in place for other people to schedule my time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you have to be really careful or you'll just burn your whole day. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you let people book your whole day, they will.
They will. That's right. So
of course, because they don't know.
No.
They can only see the one appointment they're putting on your calendar.
You got it. I used to have it wide open and leave it like, every half hour, no problem, until I was a few days in a row. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I can't do this. So
No.
Definitely. The great thing I love about Calendly is you can create different types of events and all these rules can interact together with, okay, I'm only doing one free call per day, but I will do 2 paid calls a day, whatever you want. All these different rules. It's great. But
that's pretty good.
Right calendar, right spouse, embracing chaos, and give more compliments. That's a good grab bag today for our first show of 2025.
Technically not our first.
Second.
It's the first one we've recorded since the new year.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Technically second. You got it.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Please, businessbrain.show/review. We would love that review from you. We request it even. We also request that you have a good couple of days, and we'll see you on Friday.
See ya.
Keep living that charm life.